It's time for your extra training, but you don't feel motivated and then you end up not going. A lot of athletes make the big mistake of waiting for the perfect moment for them to take action. Once I feel motivated, I will start working hard, or I'm just waiting for that motivation to kick in so I can work really hard. You know this is true because you have experienced these many times in your life before, when you felt really motivated and then you were able to do a lot of things, but then the next week you have a crash in your motivation and then you're not able to do anything. Motivation comes and goes. Many other influencers on social media have been lying to you, telling you that the only way to keep going is to push through when you feel that lack of motivation. But these will not benefit you in the long run, and eventually you will lose your entire motivation to work hard. That will lead to burnout and decrease your likelihood of success on the long run. But I'm here to tell you that there is a way that you can gain control of your motivation most of the time, without having to work extra hard or stressing yourself too much. You are not being consistent with your performances and confident in yourself because you don't really know the exact way to maintain your level of motivation in the long run, and that is the thing that will allow you to keep yourself engaged in the things that you have to do and achieve much better things. But don't worry, in just a minute I will show you exactly how you can start working on these and gain control over the actions you take, your habits, and your motivation. If you don't know me, my name is Gabriel Diano. I'm a mental performance coach working with elite athletes across the world. I'm also the creator of the Athlete Mentality Academy, a platform that has helped thousands of athletes to improve their mental game, gain confidence, and become the best on their team. I'm also the author of The Daily Athlete, a book that has helping athletes around the world to improve their mental game, and that you can get a copy today. So let's get into it. What are the things that you can do to gain control over your motivation level? But before we move into the video, I want to show you something that probably you haven't seen before. Most people, most influencers, most people on social media are showing the opposite of that, and there's a big reason for that, which you're gonna understand as you watch the video. But watch this clip from Kobe Bryant explaining why he worked so hard throughout his career.
Once I came to the NBA and I looked around, I saw other guys that weren't working as much as I was, then I started to understand that, you know, how I went about it is hard work. To me, it was just, I just love what I do, so I want to do it as much as possible.
Passion. People have to be lucky to find passion in life.
Yeah, you do. And if you're really lucky, you find it at an early age.
So when watching this video, you can clearly see that the thing that was driving Kobe was not that drive to be better than everybody else, or that grit, that willpower, that motivation to prove others wrong. It was simply, I like this and I want to do more of that. And when you start to understand how the brain works and how the psychology of elite athletes operate, you start to understand why that is so powerful and why that is the only way for you to be great at anything that you do. When you start to understand the chemistry in your brain and what is able to maintain a consistent and high level of drive, of motivation over a period of over 30 years for Kobe, you understand what you need to do. Just as a quick example for you to understand this, your levels of dopamine, which is pretty much your motivation, they will go up and down throughout the day. And imagine that when you need something extra, something external to raise your levels of motivation, every time you need more of those things to get to the same level as before. So think this as an extra stimulus, as maybe a pre-workout. You start taking that external thing, you raise your levels of motivation, but then over time you need more and more pre-workouts all the time. Think of this pre-workout as your external motivation. If you're always relying on that, you are always gonna need more of that, and when you don't have that external thing, your levels of motivation drop. This is extrinsic motivation. The athletes who are training, who are trying to get better, to prove that they're good enough, to show their teammates that they're good, to get a spot on the team, to do anything that's external, that thing will go away. If you think about it, the more you allow external things to influence your own level of motivation and take motivation, confidence, anxiety, any psychological factor, the less in control of yourself you become. Because if those things that are external to you, they are controlling your levels of motivation and confidence, you don't control your levels of motivation and confidence. What controls those levels is external things. So that means you are not in control of yourself. And if you're not in control of yourself, how are you going to be consistent? That is impossible, because you are not the one that dictates the level of confidence and motivation. And once you understand how the brain works, you start gaining control over those factors and they no longer control you. And this is a cheat code. If you want to be successful as an athlete or as anything else, you need to control yourself, because if you don't, you are not in charge of the things you're going to achieve. So that is the first step that you must have in mind to build consistent motivation, relying on intrinsic motivation and less on extrinsic motivation. How do we do that? Instead of training to prove others, instead of training to gain the recognition of others, instead of training because your coach is forcing you or your parents are forcing you to, you are doing the same activities, you are training, you are eating healthy, you are sleeping well, you are doing all of your mental training because you want it, because that is the thing that you dream about, because this is what makes you happier, because this is what makes you proud of yourself. And the more you are doing those things for yourself, the more in control you become. Because what starts to dictate your actions, your emotions, is things that are internal and not things that are coming from the outside. It is not what people say, it is not what coach chooses, it is not who wins the game. It is yourself. And the more you are able to focus on the process of making yourself better every single day because you want it, the more in control of yourself you become. You become literally unstoppable. Because the only thing that controls you, or the thing that controls you the most, is yourself. Is the fact of, am I getting better? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? And if that is the thing that dictates your emotions, your thoughts, your confidence, and your motivation, you are in charge. And when you become in charge of your brain, you are in charge of the outcomes that are gonna have. And that leads us to principle number 2, enjoy the process. Because if those things are internal, imagine that we build this cycle. We do an activity, we wait for the rewards, and that reward reinforces that activity again. So I do an activity, what do I get out of that? That controls my expectations for the future. So I have the craving, the activity, and the reward. Have this in mind, craving, activity, reward. Imagine that I train hard, the reward is I enjoy it, the craving becomes I want to do more of that so I can enjoy it again. I'm in charge. I only need myself to make this loop happen time after time. I do it, I enjoy it, I look for it again. If we change this, so this is scenario 1, you are enjoying the process. Scenario 2, you don't enjoy the process. You do an activity, you don't like it, but you are expecting a reward of I might play next Sunday, I might prove my coach that I'm good, my teammates might believe that I'm better, but that doesn't happen. You create the craving here. You are expecting those positive outcomes, but they don't happen. The outcome is not the way that you expected it to be. Motivation drops. So that cycle, sometimes it's gonna happen. Other times, it will not happen. That makes you inconsistent. So the more that you enjoy the process, the more in control of the outcomes you get. Because you are no longer expecting external things to happen. You are just expecting internal things to happen. How much am I able to enjoy? How much am I able to improve? And the more you focus on that, the more this loop is gonna happen, the more you are strengthening your ability to pursue those actions again in the future. You become unstoppable. This is the reason why, again, you need to rely on intrinsic reasons much more than extrinsic reasons. And step number 3, which is related to both of those things. Track your progress. Journal, visualize, meditate, track your habits, sleep well. The more you can track your development, the more you start playing this game of how do I get better? And the more you play this game of how do I get better, the more enjoyable it becomes. Imagine that you're playing a game in which you are always getting better, you are always going up levels. Instead of playing a game that you go from level 1 to level 2 and then you play level 1 again and then you go to level 3 and then you're back level 1, it is too inconsistent. You don't look forward to that because external things are dictating what you are expecting to happen. That again leaves you out of control of yourself. When you're playing the game of getting better, you go level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 while enjoying that. And the more that you enjoy, the more motivation you're gonna have, the more sustainable that motivation is gonna be, the more in control of yourself you become. You become unstoppable. This is the mindset that Kobe had. And this is the mindset that you're gonna see in a lot of athletes. And you might understand why most people don't share that. Why most people say and repeat, do things that you don't like, work hard all the time, outwork everybody, prove others wrong. The mindset leaves you out of control of yourself. And if you are not the one in control, that allows somebody else to control the things that you're doing. And that is not the thing that you want. I was an athlete before. The reason why I started to study the thing that I do today is because I was really struggling to be in control of myself. And once I understood the reasons, I started to help other athletes to do the same thing. Today, I'm able to help athletes performing at the highest level to work on these. But only because I was in a position that probably you are in today, struggling mentally, lack of motivation, lack of confidence, unable to use my skills. And that is the same thing that I want you to start working on. Gain control over your brain and make the most out of your potential. Have this in mind, start working on these. The more you control your brain, the more in control of yourself you become. And the more in control of yourself you are, the better things you're gonna achieve. And for the moment, congratulate yourself. Be in control over the things that you do. And now, be proud for spending time in a content and learning things that will make you better, that will make you more in control of your achievements. And because you were here, I want to give you a gift. Inside this gift, you have the step-by-step methodology that allowed a lot of athletes to become the best on their team, the most confident player on their teams. A lot of them were able to go from bench warmers to the best on their team using this, because they just had more confidence and more trust in themselves. And I'm giving you this masterclass, this step-by-step method for free. All you have to do is to click the link in the description of this video and enjoy that. I'll see you on that video. I hope you enjoyed this one and make sure to subscribe to the channel.